Evening, everyone. Andrew here with episode 13 of the true story of how I became the All-American boy in Vietnam. I was reviewing episode 12, and boy, I have to admit that I may have really goofed up in terms of the location of where we went after Dong Hoa. I keep saying Phan Rang, but I looked at a map, and Phan Rang seems awfully far south. Maybe that name comes from a later event. Anyhow, the point being is that after Dong Ha and that amplifier blew up, the band was kind of stuck. And during that brief hiatus, was when I started fracturing my relationship with my bandmates because they were all juicers and I was ahead. And I think the fact that I was smoking so much marijuana just turned those guys off a bit. So what? That's part of the fog of war, as they say. Well, anyhow, the point being is that after a time, I think it took a full day for Alphabet to catch up with the band after replacing my amplifier. And boy, did I get a butt chewing about blowing up my amplifier. It's like I did it on purpose. Well, I guess I did because I turned everything up, and you can't play an amplifier like that without, especially in the rain. So, anyhow, we got our equipment back on track, and we went on to play. And as I recall, the next place that we played was for the 101st Airborne, in a place that I was told that later became famous for being Hamburger Hill in 1969 after I left. But as I recall, the way I remember it was there was a jungle, and we flew in on a big Boeing helicopter. What's the name of it? A Chinook. Twin rotor Chinook could carry a slick if it was strapped correctly. Well, anyhow, the Chinook took us to this place, and we landed virtually on a mountaintop, or it seemed like a mountaintop to me. It was 1,000 feet or so high, and it was surrounded on all four sides with dense jungle. And I thought, I'm finally in Vietnam. Well, I come to find later, looking at the map, that we were just a few miles from Laos. Oh my gosh, this was the 101st Airborne Base that they had established in order to interdict the Ho Chi Minh Trail, where the 281st had been with the Special Forces just months before. So, but what did I know? I had no recollection. I didn't recognize anything. I'd never flown into the Ashaw Valley. But there we were in the Ashaw Valley basically on a mountaintop. And at the mountaintop, it was astonishing to me because there was a stone chapel, a church. That was, I don't know, maybe 1,500 square feet. It wasn't enormous, but it was made with these dark stones that had been fit together. They weren't. It's like river stones that are put together in Utah today. Well, anyhow, this chapel was beautiful and had stained glass windows, and it was a testament to the Christians who built it. And they had religious services in there every week for the 101st. But I didn't really get to learn a lot about it, but it was, an astonishing place. And we played, actually, we played 2 or 3 times there on that mountaintop. And it was interesting because not that many people came to hear us play at each individual performance. I think maybe 50 guys. But they seemed to enjoy what we were doing, bringing a touch of home and a little bit of rock and roll and a little bit of country. And they were appreciative, and they were very supportive of us. And after we started playing in the afternoon and played till late at night. First thing in the morning, the next day, we were packing up our gear and throwing it onto a Huey. And the Huey already had a bunch of people on it, as I recall. And we were heavy. We were real heavy. It was kind of a thrill because the Huey could not take off, could not take straight off. Apparently, it was too warm, and we were already at altitude. Being on that mountaintop, and Huey couldn't take off. So the pilot took that thing and he lifted the tail. The skids were still on the ground in the front, and he skidded us toward the edge of that cliff, that mountainside, and over we went. And I thought we were goners and that the pilot was insane. But dropping through the air, getting to the lower altitude, gave us enough lift that he was able to flatten it out and flew us off to the next place we were going. And I have to admit that in yesterday's version, I was talking about Phan Rang, like, I really knew where we were. Well, I don't really know where we were. I do remember that there was a beautiful colonial French building with columns, and it was painted beautifully. I think it was, I think it was a pale yellow with white trim, surrounded by acres and acres and acres of manicured lawn. Well, here again, after we played, by the way, I think that that mountaintop that we were playing on in later years picked up the name Camp Eagle. I don't know that for a fact, but I do know that it was an amazing place, and happy to play there. Well, we continued on with the tour, and we went to some nameless place where I never heard of before, never been there before. They just unceremoniously dropped us off. Special services eventually found their way up to where we were, and put us in a truck and took us to the venue. I have no idea where it was, but what I do remember is there was a show that was earlier in the day, and I can't recall if it was a special services show, but what I do remember was that it was Orientals, Oriental girls with that band. And they were singing and they were playing. And actually, this sounded pretty good. But most of all, they were female. And when we got up after them to play our little 2-hour set, silence. They didn't dig us. Where are the bimbos? Where are the bimbos? Sorry, man, we're just GIs volunteering to come and build morale in your town. And hope you like this rock and roll. So, hold on, I'm coming, hold on. Well, it went on in a nameless, faceless fog like this for quite a while, where I didn't know where I was, I didn't know what town it was, I didn't know what day it was, I knew what year it was. It was 1968, my year in Vietnam. God, I started to say, God damn it, but I didn't want to. So, anyhow, I was talking about playing in this band on tour in a fog. And the distance between me and the other boys in the band continued to grow. And I was getting more and more and more tired as I was working my behind off. Damn. That later.